Billy Ray Taylor was thirsty. So he grabbed the bucket from Miss Glennie Langford's kitchen and headed out the back door to fetch some water from the well. As he stood, working the handle of the old pump, something caught his attention. He looked up and saw a bright light streaking across the sky. It was coming from the southwest and heading directly toward him. As the streak drew closer, Billy Ray saw it for what it was. A metallic, disc-shaped object with multiple colored lights streaming out from behind it. The object flew overhead, crossed several fields, and dropped out of sight behind a line of trees about a quarter of a mile away. Billy Ray knew there was a ravine there and assumed the object had landed in the low spot. His assumption was confirmed by the steady glow emanating through the trees. Billy Ray grabbed the bucket and ran back inside. That's how it began. A thirsty young man drawing water at a friend's house. But what would transpire that night would become the stuff of UFO legend. Hello there, friends. Glad to have you with us this evening. My name is Ben.
And I'm Jake.
And tonight we are going to dive into one of the most famous UFO encounters on the record for both skeptics and believers. So sit back, get comfortable, and relax. And welcome to the Paranatural Podcast. How you doing tonight, Jakey boy?
Oh, lovely as always. How are you?
Yeah, we're doing good, bud. We're doing good. So before we get back into our story here, I just want to tell everybody to make sure you go ahead and visit our website, paranaturalpodcast.com. The link is in the show notes, and you can find all kinds of stuff there. All of our episodes are there. A contact form is there if you want to reach out to us and tell us how, whether you like the show, make suggestions for new episodes, or tell us your personal stories. We like to hear those. There is also a little button down in the lower right-hand corner of the website. And if you click that button, it will take you to a place where you can leave us a voicemail. We would love to hear those from you. Whatever you got to say, go ahead. Feel free. Anything you got, Jake?
Nope. Great intro.
All right. So what do you think? Want to get back into this little alien story here?
Love to hear it.
All right. So it was August 21st in the year 1955 in the little town called Kelly, Kentucky, which is about 8 miles north of Hopkinsville. The house that Billy Ray was in was the home of Miss Glennie Langford, known by most everybody as just Miss Glennie. And she was a 50-year-old widow who had a whole bunch of kids, as you did back in those days. And Billy Ray was there with his friend Elmer, aka Lucky, visiting the house. The house was full of people on this particular night. There were 11 people inside this tiny little farmhouse. So the youngest of which was 7, and the oldest of which was Miss Glennie herself at age 50. So whole bunch of people, whole bunch of ages in this one. The people were, and I got these listed in 2 different ways. There's Miss Glennie's actual, family members, her kin, if you will. And then the rest of them, they were Mr. Lonnie Langford, who was age 12 at the time. Charlton Langford, age 10. Mary Langford, who was the youngest at 7. The aforementioned Elmer, aka Lucky Sutton, who was 25. John Charlie, or JC Sutton, who was age 21. Lucky's wife, Vera Sutton, at 29. She was apparently a cradle robber. And JC's wife, Aileen Sutton, at 27, who was also a cradle robber. Apparently, the Sutton boys really liked older women. Anyway, also in the house that evening were Aileen Sutton's brother, O.P. Baker, who was around 30, and the man who opened our story today, Lucky's friend Billy Ray Taylor, who was 21, and his wife, June Taylor, who was 18. So most of those people don't really play a lot into the story, but I wanted to know how many people were there and their ages for a very specific reason we will get into later. Now it is of note that Lucky, Billy Ray, Vera, and Aileen were traveling carnival workers who were visiting Miss Glennie's home at the end of the carnival season. Now, the fact that they were carnies is something that a lot of people bring up to use against them when the story is told, because apparently carnies aren't trustworthy. That is not something I believe. That is something they say. And I think people should quit being dicks. So, and especially when you consider the time. So, like I said, it was 1955. The economy was booming after World War II. And people with extra money like to spend that money. And they like to spend it on entertainment and fun times. And what's more fun than a fucking carnival? So personally, I can see that if you were a young man with an adventurous type spirit, you wanted to travel the country and you wanted to make some money doing it, joining the carnival at that time would have been a pretty smart thing to do. If you had that kind of adventurous spirit, you had two options: join the carnival or join the military. And maybe they didn't want, well, JC actually was in the military, so we'll just note that right now. But yeah, Lucky and Billy Ray, they were carnival workers, and I'm not holding that shit against them. If you do, piss off. I don't want to talk to you. Now there's one other thing that was booming in 1955, and that is talk of flying saucers and aliens. And so it started with the sighting of Kenneth Arnold in June of 1947, which is something we'll probably get into sometime later. And then there was the Roswell crash in July of that same year. And then the UFO flap of 1952, which culminated in the encounter with the Flatwoods Monster, which is another one I will be getting into at some point because it's a fascinating story. But the 1950s, if you're a nerd like me, you've seen all the old sci-fi movies and stuff, and Men from Mars and flying saucers, they were really big around this time. So that is of note. It is a point towards the skeptics, but I will note it just because it is something that is important. And that fact, combined with Billy Ray's reportedly prankish nature, is why when he ran back into the house that evening, busted through the back door and said, "I just saw one of them flying saucers," nobody believed him. Nobody. The entire house just stared at him and started laughing and told him to knock his shit off. But what he did say was, quote, "I just saw a flying saucer land over on the other end of the farm." And like I said, nobody believed him, including his best friend Lucky, who politely inquired after the state of his friend's mental health. That's not true. What he actually said was, "Billy Ray, have you gone plumb crazy?" Which is a fair question. I'm a fan of these things and a believer, but if you ran into my back door yelling about just seeing a flying saucer, I'd probably wonder if you were a little to myself. So, but Billy Ray continued to try to convince the house full of people that he saw what he said he saw. He even tried to convince Lucky to go with him out to the spot where he saw the object land. Now, Lucky remained unconvinced and unmoved by his friend's insistence, calling it, quote, tomfoolery, which is a phrase I think we should bring back in this day and age. I rather like tomfoolery. Well, anyway, with Lucky saying, "No, Billy Ray, I'm not going off into the dark with you right now," things kind of settled back down. But Billy Ray just continued, and he would keep mumbling things like, "I know what I seen, and that's all there is to it. You just wait and see." So even after he spent like the next hour trying to convince them that he saw it. But most of the group was of the opinion that if it wasn't a prank pulled off by, Billy Ray trying to play a joke on everybody, that what he had seen was a shooting star and that he had just gotten real excited about it, which I can kind of see that being a thing. If you got somebody who's kind of an excitable fella, be like, look, dude, it was probably just a shooting star. Sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up. So after about an hour of this, the group was startled as the family dogs began to bark outside. The intensity of the barking was such that Lucky felt it necessary to go out and see what was going on. Now, I'm just making an assumption, a speculation here. These were probably hunting dogs. And if you don't know anything about hunting dogs, number one, generally, these little fuckers can be fearless. Like, I've heard of coon dogs like treeing bear like it was nothing. Mm-hmm. And that's like the first thing people should probably know about dogs like this. And the second thing is that an owner of hunting dogs, they know their dog's barks. And yeah, they might bark and raise a ruckus, but they got a special tone to their bark when they've got something treed or when something is wrong. And people that use hunting dogs frequently, they can tell the difference in their dog's barks. So apparently whatever the dogs were barking about, Lucky could tell it was something that needed, investigated. So Lucky goes outside. Billy Ray goes with him. And, because Billy Ray's a true friend, unlike Lucky, who wouldn't go investigate earlier. Billy Ray's like, I'm not letting you go alone, buddy. Dick. And as they stepped out into the darkness, the dogs ran past and crawled to safety under the house. So something spooked them poor dogs. They're probably smart, though. They hid. They ran the fuck away. Got the fuck out of Dodge. Shit's getting weird. Shit's getting weird. We're out of here. Lucky and Billy Ray's attention was caught by something moving in a distant grove of trees. It looked like someone was coming toward the house. As the figure drew closer, they realized that it was not a person, but a weird creature that neither man had ever seen before. So there's pictures drawn, which I'll talk a little bit about more later. We'll put those in the Facebook group so you can see what it was they saw coming towards themselves that night. They, like the dogs, turned and ran back inside, slamming the door and grabbing for the guns kept in the house. So I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that was probably a smart move. You got strange little critters running up on the house, might want to get something to shoot them with. Lucky grabbed a 20 gauge shotgun and Billy Ray grabbed a 22 rifle. And they once more ventured out of the house and into the deepening night. What they saw coming toward the house was a creature between 3 and 4 feet tall. Its head was large in comparison to its body, and it had very prominent pointed ears. Its eyes, positioned on the side of its face, glowed a yellowish color. So that is what they saw coming toward the house. And like I said, we have some pictures. They're not colored. They don't show the glowing eyes or anything like that. But, little 3 to 4 foot tall elf looking guys. I don't know. You've seen the pictures, Jake. You got a good description for it? Because I don't.
The only word I can think of is the word that I used earlier for a related story.
Oh, the goblin.
Yep.
Well, they do actually. This story, they call them the Kelly Hopkinsville Goblins or the Kentucky Goblins. And so, yeah, that's what they do call them. Really, though, they look like Pokemon.
And I don't know what kind of fucking Pokemon you've been looking at.
No, there actually is a Pokemon that is designed after these creatures. So take that. He's called Sableye, and he is one of the few Pokemon that is actually modeled after an American folktale.
Oh, I'll have to look it up.
That's how famous this story is they actually made a Pokemon after these guys.
There's an alien Pokemon.
There is an alien Pokemon. Most of them are pretty alien looking though.
If they're not part tree.
Facts. Or part fire dog or whatever the hell that is.
Eevee.
My brother's the Pokemon expert, not me.
I remember the originals.
I remember a little bit about them. So anyway, to continue our description of these little critters, its arms were long and thin and reached nearly to the ground. It had long, webbed, claw-tipped fingers. Its legs were short in relation to its arms. As it moved, it appeared to not be touching the ground, but instead floated slightly above it. So we got long arms, claws, stumpy legs, doesn't touch the ground. Like that. Okay.
Is that what your Pokemon does?
I guess. I don't know. I don't know nothing about it. I have to ask my kid. He knows about Pokemons. He's got a whole book. It's an encyclopedia. I should have looked that guy up.
We'll have to do that.
All right. Its entire body glowed and shimmered as if covered in highly polished metal. So that's another little detail they put in there. For the record, they were silver gray colored, even though if you look this up, you will see them referred to as the Kentucky Green Men or the Kelly Green Men, something like that. But nobody ever said they were green. It was just something a reporter made up to like sell headlines, I guess. As it drew nearer, the creature raised its hands above its head in a gesture that Miss Glennie took to be the universal sign of surrender. So Miss Glennie in this whole story, she's very much against what happens. So just take note of that. She asked Lucky and Billy Ray not to shoot the creature, but as they stepped into the yard, they opened fire at point blank range. Now, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of divided here. If I see an alien coming towards my house, I might be tempted to shoot him too.
God bless the little bastard.
But if he raises his hands up, like...
Still target. Shoot it. Ain't no one getting probed tonight.
The probing thing happened way later. That was with Whitley Strieber in 1987. Communion. Read the book.
I don't want anything up their butt.
I mean, some people like it.
All right. Foreign objects up the butt.
Some people like it. We don't judge. I don't judge.
Talking about that race car up there.
I don't judge. Anyway. Several rounds of 20 gauge and 22 long rifle hit their intended mark, making a sound similar to that of being fired into a metal bucket. So have you ever done any, target shooting and you've shot at trash? You know kind of what that sounds like. It's just a little thunk. It's, The creature flipped backwards under the force of the bullets. It hit the ground for only a second before rising back to its feet. It turned and sped off into the darkness. Those looking on described the creature's motion as strange. They described it as coming from the hips as opposed to the movement of its legs. So, yeah, it floats over the ground and it doesn't, like, it moves its legs, I think, but it like rocks its hip. So I've just got this, if you put all this together real quick, I've got this image in my head of this little goblin looking fucker dressed in tinfoil, pumping his legs, but moving his hips like Shakira to scoot across the fucking ground.
Those hips don't lie.
Those hips don't lie. That's how they motivate. Okay. I wonder what kind of booties they had. Cute little goblin booties.
Tracking on bestiality to a whole new level.
Look, I'm just saying, it was like belly dancing across the freaking yard, dressed in tinfoil with his big ass ears. I don't know. Stumpy legs floating. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with these guys, but that's what they said was happening.
It's enough to be turned on.
Yeah, maybe. Lucky and Billy Ray waited, ready in case the creature returned. After about 5 minutes, they moved back into the house and once again locked the door. Lucky and Billy Ray were joined by JC, and the three young men took stock of the available weaponry. Miss Glennie had gotten the children to hide under their beds. Some of the other women in the house sought cover and concealment in other areas. The rest gathered in the living room. As they talked about what had just happened outside, another, or maybe the same, creature appeared in the window like a goblin peeping Tom.
Pervert.
JC raised the 12 gauge he had taken possession of and fired through the window screen, which I'm thinking is the proper response to window peeking perverts, whether they be alien or not.
Right.
If they're, I mean, maybe especially if they're short, glowing, pointy-eared ones. You know, just saying.
Move all seductive like.
Right. They move their hips when they run, float. I don't know what the hell they're doing. The creature pitched backwards and fell to the ground. Unsure of the damage done to the tinfoil-clad peeping Tom, Lucky and Billy Ray went outside to look around the house. Lucky led the way out the door and stepped into the yard. Billy Ray was about to follow suit when the people inside saw a long-fingered, claw-tipped hand reach down from the overhanging roof and take a hold of his hair. Amidst the screams of those watching, Aileen Sutton darted forward, grabbed Billy Ray, and yanked him backward, away from the grasping hand and through the doorway. So, yeah, Billy Ray about got snatched.
Yeah.
He did. He about got snatched.
Probably getting pissed off about getting shot with all these shotguns.
I mean, facts. Lucky turned and spotted the would-be hair puller. He aimed his shotgun and pulled the trigger. The creature was knocked off the roof. It came down and disappeared into the weeds and out of sight. So they keep shooting these bastards, but they're not staying down. Billy Ray went back outside, and I'm just kind of, so this is another one of those things where I just get like this image in my head. So it was the 50s, and greaser culture was really big back then. So I got this image of Billy Ray, like he gets yanked back inside, and the first thing he's got to do is pull out one of them little black combs and like fix his hair. I don't know if that's what happened, but that's what I'm imagining happened. Fucking Mr. Grease Lightning and shit. So Billy Ray grabs his gun, goes back outside, and he sees another one of these little guys up in a maple tree. So he yells for Lucky, and they both shoot at it. This time, though, it doesn't fall out of the tree. Instead, it floats out of the tree. We all float here.
No.
Kelly, Kentucky.
Into this.
We all float. Sorry, I couldn't help it. They say float so many times in this damn thing that like you can't help it. So anyway, it floats out of the tree, it lands, and it too hurries away using the floaty, hip swaying, not touching the ground thing, like, you know, they do.
Hubba hubba.
And so I'm just going to go ahead and say it. They kind of acted a little moronic in this one because they actually chase after the little fucker. Now, granted, it's only like 3 or 4 feet tall, but if it can't be taken down by a 12 gauge blast, I'm not chasing off after it in the dark. I don't care how big it is or isn't. I'm not doing it. But that's what they did. They chased after it. They kept winging shots at it. They're probably getting pissed off at this point, really. So after this, things kind of fall into a lull. And Lucky and Billy Ray start walking around the yard looking for more of the funny walking little critters, be they alive or dead. One of the beings peeks around the corner of the house, and Lucky shoots it in the face for its audacity. So, Harry Potter and the audacity of that little motherfucker. But once again, the resilient little bastard hits the ground and immediately pops back up and takes off. So, I don't know, but I'd be getting real mad at this point, like fucking shooting these little bastards.
Need AP rounds.
Like, god damn, how many times I gotta shoot you, you little motherfucker? So after this, things took a break for about 20 minutes. And the besieged family finally realized that they were pretty well fucked against the big-eared, shiny midgets with their not touching the ground asses. Once more, one of the creatures appears on the roof, and once more, Lucky and Billy Ray start blasting the thing. It floats its ass off the roof and lands on a fence about 40 feet away.
It's a good jump.
The two young men chase after it and blow it off the fence. And yeah, like, seriously, at this point, they are probably getting real pissed off. And so I'm just going to stop here. We keep talking about them like getting hit, bouncing up, taking off, right? Now, a 22 long rifle isn't really a powerful gun. That's what Billy Ray was carrying. But this thing is like 4 feet tall.
Yeah.
That's like the average size of like a 7-year-old. Right? And I don't know. I'm a big man. I don't want to get shot with a 22. A 22 will kill you.
Yeah.
You know, public service announcement. We believe in safe gun handling on this channel, on this show. 22 will do the trick. You know, it will kill you.
I'm taking coyotes with it, no problem.
Right. I mean, there are people that will use it in, as their self-defense gun, and it will do the trick.
Yeah.
It's not as effective as something larger, but it is effective. That's actually like when they do, oh shit. You ever seen that damn Swamp People show on History Channel?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they kill alligators with a fucking 22 rifle.
Yeah.
If it'll kill a gator, it'll kill about anything. But that doesn't even mention the 20 gauge or the 12 gauge.
Yeah, 12 gauge got some pop to it.
It's just got a lot of pop to it. Even if it's loaded with bird shot at the distances we're talking about, that will, like, what was it I saw? It was a video of a dude. There was a female grizzly bear charging him in his yard. He shoots it in the shoulder with a 20 gauge with bird shot. And the bear it didn't die, but it hurt it enough to like hit the deck, rolled over, took off. We're not talking about something that's doing nothing here.
Well, earlier this year, I took out like 160-pound deer with a 20 gauge from 80 yards.
Yeah.
Deer are big.
Deer are bigger than these things probably are. So I just wanted to note that in case anybody's like, well, that 22 is a little gun and blah, blah, blah. They weren't just using a 22. And the shotguns we're talking about are plenty big enough to do some damage, even if a 22 wasn't.
Face.
So, yeah, you're shooting it in the face. So I just want to make note of that while we're here.
Swiss cheese perverts.
So yeah, if I was them though, I'd be mad as fuck shooting at them with shotguns. They're just getting up. I'd be wanting a hand grenade or something. Kill it with fire. So anyway, after this, things get quiet again, and everybody goes back in the house. Now and then they could hear noises outside, and every once in a while, a scratching up on the roof. Miss Glennie was keeping watch out the window and alerted everyone that one of the creatures was coming toward the front door. Billy Ray opened the storm door and shot through the screen door. It reacted in the same manner as all the ones before. Disrespectfully by getting it, falling down, popping back up. I'm sorry, that is just disrespectful. God damn it! If I shoot
Disrespectful
you,
as
stay
fuck.
down. Stay down. Miss Glennie would later describe the creature as looking like a shiny silver 5-gallon kerosene can with a head attached and supported by 2 skinny legs. I've seen the pictures. We'll put them up in the Facebook group and everything else. You guys can tell me if you have ever seen a kerosene can that looks like one of these little fuckers. Maybe I just don't know what 1950s kerosene cans look like, but
Senile.
yeah, that's Miss Glennie's description anyway. So anyway, the floating kerosene cans kept up their shit, peeking in windows and getting shot. About 3 hours into this, which is way too long, the people in the house finally decided to get the fuck out of there and go for some help. That's why I said that's way the fuck too long. And apparently, I know my great grandparents were Southern. So I have family down there still. And I can tell you that Southern people are stubborn, but holy shit, 3 hours of this is way too long. I would have went for help or something a long time before that. So they crammed everybody into the 2 available vehicles and drove the 8 miles south to Hopkinsville. The whole damn family rushed into the police station and just started laying it out to the officers that were there. And that's something I would have liked to see. Like all 11 people just running in, start yelling about aliens and shit. Like that guy must have been real fucking confused for a minute. Now, I'm sure that the first thought that went through the minds of every officer in the police station was that these people were fucking crazy. But to give credit where it's due, after they got everybody calmed down, they actually took it pretty serious and they sat everybody down and they started taking statements. And they could tell that these people were legitimately distraught and took that to mean that something was going on, whether it was what they said or something else. And between that and the fact that any report of a gun battle, means the cops need to go out and see what the fuck's going on. So that's what they did. They took statements. They decided they were going to go out and check. After the interviews and the statements were taken, Chief Russell Greenwell and Deputy George Batts decided to call for some extra help before heading out to Miss Glennie's farm. They put calls in for more city police, for some sheriff's deputies, and some state troopers. One of the officers asked the chief if he should call the Air Force and ask for air support. Now, I'm not for sure if the officer was like being a smartass or not, but Chief Greenwell apparently didn't think so because he responded by saying that they could call them later if need be, and then had the officer call Fort Campbell and see if they had anybody they could send to help too. So, yeah, the chief had him call every fucking buddy to get out there. So Chief Russell also ordered his men to take an extra gun with them, rifles or shotguns specifically, and to load up with plenty of ammo. So I'm going to give the chief a lot of credit on this one. He might not have known what was going on, but he believed these people that something was going on. And I have a feeling that like not every, police chief would have maybe reacted that way. So kudos to you, Chief. Wherever you may be, probably dead. But, the chief's call for assistance was answered, and in short order. 17 law enforcement officers gathered at the Hopkinsville Police Department and got ready to head out to Miss Glennie's farm. The 17 were made up of officers from the city, the sheriffs, Kentucky State Police, and 4 MPs from Fort Campbell. Also with the group was Joe Doris, a reporter from the Kentucky New Era, which was, and maybe still is, the local paper. And it was actually him who first broke the story on what happened out there. Now, on the way out to Miss Glenny's farm, one of the state troopers reported that he saw a two meteor-like objects fly over his car. He said they made a sound of some sort, remember the hissing that Billy Ray talked about earlier, and traveled toward the ground in an arc where they seemed to land near Miss Glenny's farm. Oh, yeah. How about that?
They're getting support.
Yeah. Well, you see two meteors headed out that way. Now, I'm also going to know, I didn't take the time to like look it up or anything like that, like who it was. I might make an extra episode, like an addendum to this one, because there's a lot of other stuff that kind of ties into this. It's not directly related. Other people that night they didn't say it was a disc-shaped object or UFO or anything like that, but they saw something in the sky headed in that direction, coming or going. So that there were people who like kind of tangentially report seeing things. So there's just make note of that. At around 12:30 a.m., the police began searching the farm. They looked for signs of someone drinking, but found nothing. Well, duh. There's a couple reasons that's a fucking duh. Talked about it before. We'll talk about it again, I'm sure. I don't care how drunk you are not hallucinating little aliens. Okay? We'll just go there for now. The second part is some of these were children. 7, 10, 12 years old. You think they're drinking? They're in the police station telling you the same fucking story. You think they're drunk?
They might have a cool family.
I mean, Jesus, they might be, hillbillies or something, but they're not fucking Christ almighty.
Drunk on Yoo-hoo.
7-year-old drunk. Hey, Yoo-hoo's good. Yoo-hoo's fucking good.
Didn't say it wasn't.
Now, the other part of that is that Miss Glenny was a very Christian woman who did not allow spirits in her house. Now, remember when I mentioned I have family from down south? That reminds me very much of my great-grandmother, who was a very Christian woman and did not allow drinking in her house. She was so adamant about it, and I can just see Miss Glenny being the same way. My great-grandmother used to kick her brother out to the barn. Her very own brother would make him sleep out in the barn if he was drinking. That woman gave no fucks. Like, you're drinking, get the fuck out of my house. So I can kind of see Miss Glenny being, something similar to that. The police, after finding no evidence of drunken 7-year-olds, examined the ground thoroughly, looking for footprints left behind by the space aliens. But of course, they found nothing because these little guys didn't walk on the ground. They hula hooped through the fucking air and moved around that way. They were equally unsuccessful in locating any aliens alive or dead. Now, if you just look at this without a little backstory or, a little understanding, it's pretty easy to imagine that, the cops were out there looking around, kind of making fun of the, poor ass country folk seeing aliens and shit like that and having a laugh about it on a, quiet Kentucky night. However, that was not at all the case. Chief Greenwell spoke of that night and talked about how everyone there was on edge. He said that there was a tension in the air that everyone felt. At one point during the investigation, one of the officers inadvertently stepped on a cat's tail that he did not see in the dark. The cat yowled and took off, which startled everyone in attendance so badly that they drew their guns as if under attack. Sheriff Greenwell, telling this story, remarked that he had never seen so many guns clear holsters so fast in his life.
Damn cat.
So whatever was going on, these cops were out there really taking this seriously. Whether it was really a tension in the air or it was, the family was really distraught, whatever it was, they weren't out there fucking around. They were taking this shit real serious. Eventually, though, the investigation made its way to the low spot where Billy Ray said the flying saucer had landed. But again, they found nothing out of the ordinary. The only evidence that they did find to lend credence to the family's fantastic story were the bullet holes in the screens, the shotgun pellets and 22 bullets in the windowsills, and shell casings that lay everywhere, inside and out. And one other thing they found was near the fence where Billy Ray and Lucky shot that one earlier in the night. They found a glowing, luminous stain in the grass. Unfortunately, none of those dumbass cops were smart enough to take a sample of the fucking thing. That just irritates me. Why would you not take a sample of the glowing stain in the grass? Jake, why? It hurts me. It hurts me deep.
Probably had more on their mind.
But like what? What could be more on your mind than, hey, look,
there might be goblins about.
Well, there's some blood on the ground. Take a sample. Anyway, at around 2, everyone began to leave the farm. Some of the officers made plans to come back in the morning and look again with the aid of daylight, which is smart. I get that. But take a fucking sample. Anyway. By this time, the family was exhausted. And though still nervous, they decided to try and go to bed. Miss Glennie was still pretty keyed up over the night's ordeal. And because of this, she lay in her bed, partially awake. At around 3:30, Miss Glennie heard a scratching noise coming from the roof above. She called out for the rest of the family, but before anyone could respond, she saw one of the aliens appear at her window. So here we are, back to peeping Toms. Lucky must not have been sleeping well himself, because before Miss Glennie could call out a second time, he was already rushing into the room with his shotgun. So he was ready. He was ready to go. He's, don't you fuck my mama, kapow. However, once again, Miss Glennie urged him not to shoot. So according to her, she never, ever saw, she really thought these guys were not a threat. Like everything they were doing, she didn't see as threatening, but more curious. So she asked him again, please don't shoot, don't shoot, don't shoot. But, yep, you guessed it. Lucky kablam, that little motherfucker. The shot knocked the alien peeper from its perch and blew out the glass in Miss Glennie's bedroom window. So, way to go, Lucky, you dick. After this, the whole shebang kicked off again. Aliens scratching on the roof, aliens at the window, bang, rinse, and repeat. Same thing as earlier. And at around 5:15, the aliens finally got the hint that the family was not interested in whatever these intergalactic Jehovah's Witnesses had to say. And they floated their big ass, stumpy legged asses away for good. So that was it. 5:15, they just floated off to fuck out somewhere. I don't know where they went, but the police came back in the morning, but as before, found no evidence of the aliens. Even the glowing stain was gone, which is why you get a sample while you're standing there, you dumb fucks. Word of the event spread quickly thanks to the aforementioned news reporter, and people began showing up to the farm to look around. Some of them even went so far as to barge into the house uninvited. A few major dicks even tried to pry bullets from the windowsills to keep as souvenirs. The family grew tired of this, and in an attempt to stop the flood of rude-ass looky-loos, the family began charging people an entrance fee.
Circus.
I mean, that's where their carnival training comes in handy right there is, well, fuck it. If you want to see the freak show, you're going to pay up, buddy. Reporters from all over Kentucky, parts of Indiana, and Tennessee came to the farm to interview the family. Eventually, the family grew very, very tired of this attention and began to refuse to speak to anyone. And I can't say as I blame them. There were a few prominent UFO investigators who tried to get down there and talk to the family. They wouldn't talk to many of them. They did talk to one young lady whose name I should have written down, but didn't. And just kind of give you a glimpse into Miss Glennie's character this was about a year later, when the young lady went to leave, she said, sorry to have bothered you. And Miss Glennie answered by saying, you didn't bother me as much as some of those others. So, she's pretty straight shooting old broad, it sounds like. But before the family got fed up, they did talk to some people, and some of those were possessed of some artistic talent, which is where we get the pictures. The two pictures I'll share to the group, and the two that are the main ones you'll find, were drawn by Private First Class Gary F. Hodson of the 101st Airborne Division at Fort Campbell, and Andrew Bud Ledwith of WOP Radio, WHOP. Both these men drew sketches from the witness's testimony, and they will be, like I keep saying, in the Facebook group. So if you want to see them, get in there and have a look. That's pretty much the end of the story. So there you go.
I can't say I would have done it much different. I see something peeping through my window, I'm shooting it.
I kind of get that. I mean, once it's peeking in the window, it's going down. But I'm kind of, I would debate. Like, I don't know if I would have shot it before that or not. Like, if it's
or trying to pull my voluptuous hair.
I know, right? So,
I see a weird looking squirrel. I want to shoot it.
Well, you're just violent.
No, logical.
So, like I said earlier, the story is I don't know if I said that on recording or to you before we recorded, but the story is actually pretty straightforward story as far as it goes. Nobody gets abducted, nothing outside of strange creatures and a UFO, nothing really, really weird happens. The fucking theories on this one really get me. When you study paranormal events, there are times when the theories make less fucking sense than just accepting that the thing that they say happened. So let's get into some of those fucking theories, shall we? We will start with the most boring one. Okay. Which is always a hoax. No matter what, it's always a hoax. Everybody says it's a hoax.
Boo.
Now, to the skeptic side saying it's a hoax, they did set up a stand to make some money from people coming in.
Yeah.
But it didn't work. I kind of doubt you're going to shoot up your own house and hope to make like $3 on fucking tickets. You know what I'm saying? Like,
1955, $3 is a lot.
I mean, right. So, and if you follow that up with, of course, at the time they might, they wouldn't have this information, but this was 1955. It is 2022. Some of the children that were involved, like, they've grown up and they were asked about this. None of them have to date ever said, no, we made it up, or no, Lucky made it up, or Billy Ray made it up, or anything like that. None of them. That kind of says a lot to me, because they were kids. They didn't do it. What would they have to gain by keeping it going if it was a lie?
Right.
So that's a hoax in this case. I could see why people would think that, but I don't see it. Lucky's daughter actually has written 2 books about this, like, to add more detail, and did a dramatization documentary, which is hilarious because the actor that plays Lucky, like, Lucky's 25 when this happens, the actor that plays him is like 40, and I just died laughing. But anyway, like nobody in the family has ever come forward to say it was a hoax. That's my point. So I'm throwing hoax out the window. The other one is that Billy Ray saw a meteor. Okay, great. But that doesn't explain the fucking aliens. So get out of here with the goddamn meteor theory. There's the theory that they were drunk, which we've already covered. 7-year-olds ain't getting drunk.
Drinking cactus juice to see shit.
Okay. Now we get into the really stupid ones. And we're going to go to this one, which was that it was local kids in costumes causing havoc. Okay.
Bulletproof shit.
Huh?
Wearing bulletproof shit.
Yeah, that's my question. If you think it was kids, where are the dead kids?
And where's their hoverboard?
Like, where are the dead kids? That it wasn't kids. All right. Whoever thinks that, it wasn't fucking kids. This one is, do you want to do the most prevalent theory or the most fun theory next?
Flip a coin. I don't care.
Okay, we'll do the most prevalent theory. And that is that it was owls.
Owls.
Owls. That there were like nesting owls that got territorial and decided to attack the fucking house. Okay, first off, let's just start with these fucking people know what owls look like. Okay, they know what owls look like. They are not fucking dumb. They know what an owl is.
Shiny 4-foot owl.
And it was like just like dusk when this all started. So when the first thing came up, like you could have been able to see it was an owl. Like I can see some owl-ish features in the sketches, right? Like the big eyes and even the horns. Like some of the owls got like little tough ear thingies. But nowhere in the story do they talk about wings. Show me an owl that's 4 feet fucking tall. I mean, some of them get pretty big, but fuck me, 4 feet fucking tall, pretty goddamn big. They do describe them as having legs and feet. Owls only got feet. And these people know what fucking owls are. All right. And show me a bulletproof fucking owl. How durable do these assholes think owls are? So obviously, I'm saying it's not a fucking owl. Now we're going to move on to the most fun theory, which is it was monkeys. There are people in this world that believe that what happened at Kelly Hopkinsville that night were that silver painted monkeys attacked the house. Their theory is that they escaped from a circus and found their way to the house and attacked, but they were painted silver for some fucking reason or another. These monkeys, silver painted fucking monkeys.
Bulletproof.
So yeah, where's the dead monkeys then? That is the one thing we keep coming back to. Where are the dead ones? They shot these things
in the face,
among other places. Most of the time when the account is described, they fired multiple rounds into each and every one of these things every time. And who paints their monkey silver? Not to mention the fact that nobody ever reported missing monkeys in the area. Never once. So this is one of those situations where the skeptics' explanations are actually more far-fetched than the goddamn exception that it was just fucking aliens. I close the book. I'm done. What do you think, Jacob?
Well, if they're monkeys, I don't want to fuck with those monkeys.
I don't want to mess with no bulletproof ass goddamn monkeys either. Or owls. Owl monkeys.
And they said a long arm or a long finger reached down. Owls, they don't have arms.
Not last time I checked, no.
No.
Not
Mon-
last time I checked.
Monkeys have arms, but
Monkeys got arms, but why are we painting the monkey silver?
why are we making them bulletproof?
And last time I checked, if you shoot a monkey, it's going to die. I've never shot a monkey, but I can make some safe assumptions.
My ex's dad has a story when he was in the military. They let a bunch of people club a monkey to death to eat its brain. So if it's, yeah, it's in a different country, but
well, yes, I know there are people that actually think monkey is a delicacy in other parts of the world, but I couldn't eat something that looked that much like a person unless I was starving, at which point I could probably eat a person.
oh, I could totally eat a monkey.
But either way, monkeys aren't bulletproof any more than fucking owls are. Or kids in costumes.
Right. Those are some high-tech costumes.
I don't know the state of bulletproof in 1955, but yeah, anyway, that's why the theories piss me off on this one, because they're just so stupid. So anyway, that's the Kelly Hopkinsville encounter. Jacob, do you have anything to add to tonight's episode, sir?
That was an episode that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a story, all right.
I like the gun toting people.
The gun toting people, they're my kind of people.
Yeah, shoot first, ask questions later.
All right, so in closing tonight, I want to tell everyone that we have started a Patreon. You can find the link to this in the show notes, or I can't remember our Patreon page name right offhand. So go to the show notes, find the link, or you can find it on our website, paranaturalpodcast.com. We do have an episode up. We left it public so that you can get an idea of what you can expect from Patreon. We got quite a few fun ideas going on over there. It's going to be a little bit different than the show we do here. A little bit, not a lot. So if you want to help out the show, head on over there. We got one tier, $5 a month. You're going to get bonus content and a shout out on the show. So head on over there, check out the episode. If you like it, give a thought to subscribing, helping out a couple of guys trying to bring some joy and entertainment into the world. Anything, Jake?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right. So with that, we will sign off, and I will say good night.
Night, folks.
Thanks for listening, everybody.